let's say two people get together, and this is how, personality can cause relationship divide or togetherness, right? Get together, chemistry is one way, and then someone starts drastically supplementing zinc and becoming overly analytical, which we've seen a lot during COVID. And guess what? We saw a lot of divorces. It was never higher.
Can you share a little bit more about some, you mentioned earlier, and then I have two other questions, and I want to open it up to questions for the group here. But you mentioned earlier, some of these key nutrients that you're finding like over 90% of people are deficient in. Are there any other like major trends like that you're seeing in terms of either deficiencies or, excess? I know oftentimes, I don't know that you can test one without the other, or at least I've never seen a test one without the other, because you're also looking at the heavy metals, right? And the toxicities. So are you seeing trends in terms of the relationships with that, or, just what some of the things that you're seeing, since you guys do so many of these?
Sure. So we're seeing about 90% of people being low in magnesium, or low in magnesium and B6. So when you do a hair test, if someone shows elevated magnesium, you can ask them a couple of questions, which you can almost guess. You can almost, even without asking questions, that they don't have a cofactor. So it's showing high because their body is absorbing it, but they're not able to utilize it fully because they're so chronically low in B6. And when we look at the whole methylation pathway, B6 plays a huge role in the body, and most of us are low in it. I've taken as much as 200 milligrams for quite a while to get that right. I finally was able to get it right and correct it. And I started off at like 10 milligrams, long time. I was like, wow, no result. Then I went to 100 and stayed at 100 for a while. I started muscle testing to like go, all right, what are other, like, I know I need this. Do I need a lot more? Yes. And you sort of like use your body as a pendulum, which is a really interesting thing that I've kind of trusted and has worked out well, to my surprise. Frankly, I'm the most surprised of anyone. And then, so potassium, 99% of us are deficient in it, because you need almost 5 grams of potassium a day. How do you get that? Sodium, probably 60% of people are low in sodium if they're eating a good diet, a clean diet. So salting your food as much as you want. The body has a limiting factor for salt, like quality salt. You're not going to overeat it, almost surely. The body, I'll just say that clean. For a couple of days, try to eat too much salt. Your body will just go, whoa,
Interesting.
And you can salt your water if you need to. Again, testing, not guessing, and looking at ratios, not just individual elements. So sodium and potassium is a really important one for emotional health too. If you're below about a 1.4, you can all but guarantee that the person is going to exhibit some emotional disorder.
Interesting.
Possibly even something you might call bipolar. So. Oh wow. Yeah, shocking, but very, very true. I've seen it firsthand many times. So
interesting. That's a perfect segue for my last question, and then I want to open it up to those who are here. So, I've heard you described in another podcast that you did, that you are in one of your trainings, I can't remember where, but I've heard you speak to the fact that minerals really express through one's habits and one's personality, or our mineral sort of deficiencies or sufficiencies. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great example, the one we just talked about, sodium and potassium. That's a big one. Another is, let's say someone has very high iron. High iron levels is linked to anger, actually. So is lead. Lead is angry. Mercury is madness. Mad Hatters, back in the day. Right?
Yeah.
Madness. Not necessarily anger, but just craze, just absolute craze. That may seem like maybe creative at times, but also just like super ungrounded. And also in that area of creativity, if you have although copper can be really helpful and needed in the body, and you may want to supplement it, possibly. Too much copper can cause someone to be overly creative and has a really feminine quality in that way, like overtly though. Like, and what that looks like would be, whether male or female, starting projects, mini projects, not finishing. So like a very high, as you would say in a Colby personality test, high quick start, very low follow through as just a sort of pattern, often. and I wonder to what extent, especially early in life, particularly with the amount of deficiencies that our mothers impart to us, and the heavy metal toxicity that causes uptake of and antagonism of certain key minerals, that this causes. So maybe you're really creative and you have low follow through because you had a good amount of copper, which is also, during I've heard it said that during the last trimester, something like 70 milligrams of copper is deposited in the liver from mom to child, or needs to be, because it's so important for mitochondrial function, as is magnesium, as is oxygen, for function. So yeah, so those are some thoughts. And then on the balance of that, zinc, let's say two people get together, and this is how personality can cause relationship divide, or togetherness, right? Get together, chemistry is one way, and then someone starts drastically supplementing zinc and becoming overly analytical, which we've seen a lot during COVID. And guess what? We saw a lot of divorces. It was never higher. And yeah, so that's part. I mean, there were other factors, sure, but this was also clearly something. And I remember thinking, like, this is going to be bad. Like, this is going to be really bad for a lot of people.
I'm laughing and also probably blushing because I did take a bunch of zinc, and I'm already analytical, and I got super hyper analytical. I mean, my relationship was great. I have an incredibly patient husband. But that is really funny. I think I think you're right. It's probably multifactorial, but that's kind of amazing. Yeah. Oh, I think there's so many aspects to our physiology that influence our personality, right? Beyond, there's endless inputs in that, but this is fascinating.